The following program on KROC AM is sponsored and paid for by Meshbesher and Spence.
And we've got in the studio Zach Bauer from Meshbesher and Spence. Good morning, Zach.
Good morning, guys. It's cold out there.
It is.
It is.
Did you walk over?
No, he's too far.
No.
He's over on 2nd Street.
Oh, you're at that one. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
No, he's at 2nd Street.
That would be
That'd be a haul.
on the other side of 52. He wouldn't have made it.
Yeah, that's
He
right.
would not have made it. What are we talking about today, Zach?
Well, we're going to talk about just kind of the normal process by which people come into the criminal justice system.
Oh.
Some people come in by way of like a ticket or citation versus maybe a complaint, and kind of discussing the differences between those two things.
And they thought, I never thought I would be in a lawyer's office discussing my problem.
Yeah, I often tell clients that it's kind of like going to the dentist's office. Nobody really wants to do that, I don't think, but sometimes it's necessary. You know, you got a cavity, you got to get filled. There's a problem with your life when it comes to a charge. You need to get that solved.
And you want a professional
Absolutely
to take care of it. So.
Is there a most common thing that you have on your docket every day? What's the most common thing that happens?
Most often what we typically see is, a lot of DUI offenses.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are things that we see pretty frequently. We see other things when it comes to people asking questions about traffic citations. We had a case the other day that came up with a person that arm signals on buses.
Mm-hmm.
This time of year, those can be major issues.
Yeah.
When people inadvertently, either because of the roadways, it's too slick and they're not able to stop, and they kind of get halfway even with the bus and the arms down, and what do I do? And those can be, those are serious. In some situations, those can be gross misdemeanor charges, so they're pretty serious, and they can revoke your license. So, we get a lot of traffic stuff this time of year.
So what is the difference between a complaint and a citation?
So in a citation, those are typically misdemeanor-level offenses or petty misdemeanors. So in Minnesota, we have kind of a pyramid, so to speak, of petty misdemeanor are like your normal speeding tickets and citations. Misdemeanors are first-time offenses, but you could have jail time for them. So those are like DUI offenses and assaults. And then gross misdemeanors and felonies become more serious charges. Typically, people will get citations in all petty misdemeanors and misdemeanors. They'll usually get them right at the scene from the officer. Versus gross misdemeanor and felonies, usually those are situations where people will get a complaint in the mail. And that complaint will tell the people what they are charged with and when they are to appear in court. The other option for them, if they're not going to send a complaint out to you, is to actually arrest you, hold you in custody, and then you appear before a judge, and then you'll be served with a complaint at that time, but then you're seeing a judge directly rather than just being summoned to come to court.
Okay.
And when you get a citation, is that sometimes something as simple as just writing a check out and sending it back in, or is there usually more to it?
There are some citations which are what we call payables, which are allowed, and typically the officer will tell you they're at the scene, or if you get something in the mail with a ticket, it will say you can come in and pay this at the court administration desk. You don't need to see a judge. And there'll be other things like, for instance, DUI offenses where you have to actually appear before a judge. You can't just come in and pay a ticket.
And that's pretty spelled out there in whatever they're handing you,
It
or
is.
you get in the mail.
It is, although the one example I would give people is that even if it's a payable, sometimes there are collateral consequences to that payable. So, for instance, like a bus stop violation, or, for instance, like a no proof of insurance ticket, where you think, you know what, I had insurance, but it wasn't with me at that time, or I didn't have insurance because it happened to lapse. I was getting a new car, and there was this 3-day window. Well, when you pay those tickets, that's a guilty plea.
Oh, I see.
That plea is then reported to the Department of Public Safety, who can then potentially revoke your license for that. So there are ways for attorneys sometimes to do things called stays of adjudication, which allow it to be kept off your record to prevent the Department of Public Safety from revoking your license. So even if it's a payable, it may be a good idea to at least talk to somebody, at least have a conversation, 5 or 10 minutes with an attorney to make sure, if I do this, are there going to be any issues? Because oftentimes we deal with cases sometimes where they've already paid the ticket, it's already been sent to the Department of Public Safety, they get the revocation in the mail that my license is now revoked, and they're like, well, I just thought this was a payable.
Sure. And it costs probably a whole lot more time and effort and financially cost a lot more to try to fix it on the backside than it would in the beginning.
It does, and quite frankly, on a lot of these situations, if people are just wanting to have a consultation, if it's talking about a half an hour, we do free consultations. I know there's other attorneys in town that do free consultations as well. So get in and talk to somebody if you have a question.
And what is that phone number?
They can contact us at 507-280-8090 or visit us online at www.meshbesher.com.